The old man walked slowly through the supermarket entrance, his trembling hands holding a few essential items. His faded military uniform, adorned with worn-out medals, made him stand out among the bustling crowd. Though his gaunt face showed the signs of age, his eyes still held the quiet pride of someone who had fought for his country. When he reached the checkout counter, the cashier looked at him coldly, her voice dripping with disdain. "Here you go again, asking for a veteran's discount. Don't take advantage of that." Her words stabbed straight into his heart. He lowered his head, offering no reply, leaving behind a heavy silence filled with sorrow. No one in the queue spoke up. Only a stranger's keen eyes watched silently from behind, witnessing everything. What the cashier didn't realize was that this story was just beginning. The small supermarket nestled quietly in an old neighborhood, its space simple yet familiar to the locals. Wooden shelves, worn and faded with time, under the harsh fluorescent lights cast a cold glow on neatly arranged but lifeless packaged goods, creating an atmosphere both ordinary and full of untold stories. The bell above the door jingled each time a customer entered, mingling with the low murmurs of employees and the dull beeping of the old cash register, making this place a backdrop of everyday life and quiet tension. Behind the counter stood a young cashier, her face expressionless, eyes sharp as if constantly searching for a reason to show irritation. Her hair tied back neatly, her dark green uniform crisp and tidy, yet her attitude was the exact opposite. Each time she glanced at a customer, it was as if she was judging and dismissing them in a split second. Today, that gaze fixed particularly on an elderly man dressed in a faded military uniform. Impatience and disdain seeped through her voice as she snapped, "Trying to get a discount again? Don't exploit your veteran status." It wasn't just words, it was a blow to the man's pride. Behind him, a middle-aged man stood silently waiting his turn. He wore a dark brown jacket, his face weathered, but his eyes reflected not just life's weariness, but a deep sensitivity and something unique, a profound empathy for the elderly man before him. He said nothing, but every gesture and glance he cast seemed to absorb the tension of this small but meaningful confrontation. He understood this was more than just an old man being insulted by a cashier. It was about respect, justice, and gratitude for those who have served their country. Around them, other shoppers busied themselves with their own tasks. An elderly lady with a bike loaded with groceries, a young man wearing headphones, a young mother soothing her child, all forming a simple picture of everyday life, unaware of the mounting tension at the checkout. The quiet was punctuated only by the beeping of the register and occasional indistinct sighs, adding to the uncomfortable atmosphere. The checkout counter, with its old register and a messy stack of receipts, became a focal point of this silent but heavy standoff. The young cashier's cold demeanor failed to realize that all eyes were on her and the elderly man, and more importantly, there was a silent observer ready to speak up, poised to change the course of this story. The contrast between the veteran's glorious past and the cashier's indifferent attitude stood out starkly in this modest, somewhat dull setting. The atmosphere in the supermarket suddenly grew tense right after the cashier's words. The elderly man in his faded military uniform stood upright, his eyes heavy with sorrow yet shining with resilience. He spoke softly but firmly. "Do you know how many years I served this country?" His voice wasn't loud, but was enough to make those nearby pause and listen closely. The cashier sneered, her eyes full of contempt. "Yes, a veteran who can't even pay for his own groceries and has to rely on others. How pathetic." Her words poured gasoline on the smoldering fire in the old man's heart. A few customers turned to look, their expressions a mix of shock and anger, but no one spoke up yet. A middle-aged man standing behind quietly observed, sensing the deep insult. His fists clenched tightly, and finally, he stepped forward with cold determination in his eyes. "Excuse me, but he does not deserve to be treated like that. He is a man who sacrificed so much for this country." His voice was strong and resolute, leaving the cashier and bystanders no room to ignore him. The cashier frowned, unwilling to argue back, while the crowd began murmuring among themselves, some nodding in agreement, others sighing sadly at the disrespect they had just witnessed. The elderly veteran now stood even straighter, his eyes glowing with pride. He spoke with solemn authority. "I've endured days and nights on the battlefield, facing dangers you cannot imagine. I don't ask for pity, only to be respected. His words rang out like a bell in the small space, silencing everyone. Suddenly, the middle-aged man pulled a dusty, worn medal from his pocket and placed it on the counter. "This is proof of his sacrifices, the sleepless nights and silent pain," he said, his voice filled with emotion. The room fell silent as all eyes fixed on the medal, like a flame reigniting respect in everyone's hearts. The cashier looked down, embarrassed and speechless. Customers began voicing support for the veteran, urging respect for those who serve. The murmurs turned into gentle applause, lifting the heavy atmosphere. The old man glanced around and smiled gratefully. Turning to the middle-aged man, he said warmly, "Thank you. Your support makes me feel less alone." The man nodded, his eyes full of empathy and respect. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman stepped forward from the back of the line. She was the store manager and had overheard everything. Her tone was firm. "We apologize for what happened here. Every customer deserves respect, especially those who have sacrificed for our country." The cashier lowered her head in apology, while the crowd clapped softly, the mood growing warm and compassionate. The veteran retrieved his medal, his eyes shining with renewed pride and hope. He bowed to the people and exited the store under admiring gazes and blessings. This was not just a small victory over injustice, but a profound reminder of the value of gratitude and respect. After the tense incident at the checkout counter, the atmosphere in the supermarket gradually returned to normal, but many eyes still lingered on the story that had just unfolded. The veteran, dressed in his worn military uniform, despite receiving support from many customers, still felt a quiet ache deep inside. He knew the cashier's apology was necessary, but far from enough to heal the wounds caused by those harsh words. Just as he was leaving the store, his phone rang, a call from a middle-aged man who had stood up for him earlier. His voice was urgent. "You need to hear this. I've reviewed the security footage." The old man nodded with determination. "I'm on my way." The middle-aged man quickly arrived at the supermarket manager's office, presenting clear video evidence showing the cashier's disrespectful attitude not only toward a veteran, but also toward many other elderly customers. The footage proved she had openly discriminated and made things difficult, damaging the store's reputation. Faced with undeniable proof, the supermarket manager summoned the cashier. Under the weight of the truth, she had no choice but to admit her wrongdoing. Not only was she immediately fired, but she was also required to attend training sessions on customer respect and community awareness. But the story didn't end there. The middle-aged man and the veteran decided not to let the incident fade away quietly. They posted a detailed account on social media, accompanied by the video and a heartfelt retelling of the painful experience. The post quickly gained widespread attention and went viral within the online community. Many veterans and elderly customers shared similar experiences, calling for increased awareness and respect for those who sacrificed for the country. An elder rights organization also reached out to support them legally and to bring the case to relevant authorities. In the end, the cashier not only lost her job, but also faced strict administrative penalties for discrimination and harming the community. The incident became a powerful lesson and a wake-up call for many others. Though he had endured much, the old man now felt peace in his heart. He understood that justice was not merely punishment, but a symbol of respect and gratitude toward those who had sacrificed for the nation. A few days later, he and the middle-aged man returned to the supermarket, this time not as a disrespected customer, but as symbols of inspiration, reminding everyone of the value of fairness and respect. The eyes that day were no longer filled with surprise or anger, but with deep admiration and appreciation. The story ended with a powerful message to all. Never underestimate those who have sacrificed for their country, for they are the foundation of our future. And when justice is served, society becomes fairer and more humane every day. The story of the veteran being insulted is more than just an isolated event. It serves as a powerful reminder of the sacred value of respect and gratitude owed to those who have sacrificed for our country. I recall the image of him standing quietly, his eyes heavy with sorrow yet filled with unwavering strength, a man who has endured countless hardships but preserved his dignity through it all. Each of us holds the power to make a difference. Just a kind word, a small gesture of care can touch someone's heart and heal invisible wounds. We must not allow thoughtless words or careless actions to wound those who have given their youth and energy to protect our nation. Stand up, not only to defend justice for yourself, but also for community, especially the elderly and veterans, the unsung heroes we often forget amid our busy lives. If you witness or experience disrespect, do not hesitate to speak out. Share your story so the voice of fairness can echo further, ensuring the values of humanity are never forgotten. Together, let's build a society that is not only fair but filled with compassion, where everyone is treated with genuine respect and empathy. Because above all, respect is not merely courtesy. It is a foundation of a civilized and enduring society. I send my deepest gratitude to all veterans, those silent heroes who have exchanged their youth and dreams to protect our peace. Your sacrifices will forever be the guiding flame, the unshakable pride of our nation. And we, the ones enjoying life today, owe you endless thanks and everlasting respect.